How Anthony Phillips' first album almost never came out, The Geese and the Ghost. I'm John Bowden from Rock History Music. Someone's very first project, their first album, is always an interesting outing. No matter how good that artist is coming out of the gate, there's a lot of things they don't know. But they don't know that until they have a few more albums under their belt. But almost always, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into making that first project. But for Anthony Phillips, it almost never happened. He left Genesis in 1970. But The Geese and the Ghost, his first album, didn't come out till 1977. Peter Gabriel left Genesis in 1975. And his solo album came out a month before The Geese and the Ghost. Voyage of the Acolyte was the first solo album from Steve Hackett of Genesis. And that came out 2 years before. Phil Collins, Tony Banks, and Mike Rutherford at that point had not released albums. That wouldn't come for a few years yet. The Geese and the Ghost was supposed to be a duo album between Anthony Phillips and Mike Rutherford, but Mike was so busy with Genesis that he really couldn't put the time into the project. I remember first hearing this quite a few years ago, and I was dumbfounded by it because I love The Geese and the Ghost, the first Anthony Phillips album. I love this album. A lot of Genesis guys make appearances on it, so he gave me the lowdown on why the album almost was not released.
Peter left in 75 and we knew he was probably going to leave. Mike and I had started Geese and the Ghost, but it had got truncated because the Lamb had turned into a double album. Steve then did me a wonderful favour by cutting his hand on a glass and giving us, I joke obviously, but he gave us, because the tour was delayed, we clawed back a little bit of the time and were able to start the backing tracks of a few of the tracks in 74 before they went on the road in the autumn. But then when they finished the tour, it was sort of up in the air. Peter had his baby with the Lamb. Was he going to stay? And of course he wasn't. He left. So Mike and I did The Geese and the Ghost. Steve shot straight off and did Voyage of the Acolyte. Towards the end of the summer of finishing The Geese and the Ghost, Mike sort of gradually disappeared more and more because the pressure was really on with trying to find another singer. And of course, you see, they were auditioning singers left, right and centre. There was no idea that Phil was going to be the singer. It happened by default. I mixed it with Simon Hayward, and there was a little bit of interest. Gradually, it sort of seemed to fizzle, and we finished it in September 75. And basically nothing happened. I'd actually given up on it by the middle of the following year, and I was going to go back to music college. And it suddenly, belatedly got picked up in November 76, by which stage they'd done Wind and Wuthering as well. So you can probably imagine that was not the easiest period of my life, because I was built up to coming back and doing an album after a long time away from things, teaching and studying and stuff. So to go crashing down like that and was very difficult to take. It was I couldn't really understand it. I didn't think The Geese and the Ghost was brilliant, but I thought it was probably good enough to go out. But no, there was just a mystery. I had actually, after 14 months, I'd given it up. And then finally, suddenly, it was picked up by Marty Scott of Passport and was released the following year over here in America. It never had a proper release in England. It was only released by the management company. People just didn't go for it. I mean, this is the album which all these years on, I don't know if you saw the Goldmine article, which it had 10 prog albums to listen to. And I felt so unbelievably honoured and chuffed, because it had Geese and the Ghost in between Court of the Crimson King and Crime of the Century. Mm-hmm. It's one of the prog albums, the 10 prog albums you should listen to. And I think he said something like, there's something on this album that everyone would love. And I cast my mind back thinking, but you don't know how very, very nearly that album never came out.
We'll have more from our chat with former Genesis guitarist Anthony Phillips coming up next Sunday. I'm John Bowden. Make sure you share our videos, subscribe to our channel, and comment on them as well. This is Rock History Music.